This is Sporting Life.
Well, it's here, the Cheltenham Festival, 24 hours away at the point of recording. It's our tipping podcast for Tuesday and Wednesday. David Orr, joined by Ben Linfoot, Ed Chamberlain, David Johnson and Billy Nash. We could have GC dropping in too, and we'll also have Patrick Mullins going through his rides on Tuesday and Wednesday. So plenty to get stuck into. Wrong show. Well, let's start with some best bets for day one. Ben Linfoot, Tuesday at Cheltenham. What's going to get us off to a flyer?
Off to a flyer, yeah, we could get off to a flyer, couldn't we? And Willie Mullins, who's got 6 of the 7 favourites on Tuesday, he could get off to a flyer, and it might be a bandwagon that's tough to stop. He's got a couple towards the head of the market in the Sky Bet Supreme, and I favour Tully Hill. I think this horse could win like so many Close Sutton horses have done so in this race in the past with a power pull performance off the front end. Listen, I know he was beaten at 1-8 earlier in the season, but to me, he's really progressed, particularly with his hurdling technique. And I liked his win at Punchestown last time, where he beat No Flies on him by 9 lengths. I think he's really sharpened up. And with that really good Grade 1 second in a bumper in his back catalogue as well, I just think he's got everything you want in a supreme horse. And the market's cottoned on. He's 3-1 favourite. I think he should be, but I think he's the one who can get us off to a flyer.
Ben Linfoot's getting us off to a flyer in the Sky Bet Supreme with Tully Hill there. Ed, what's on your radar for Cheltenham? Give us a Tuesday day one winner.
I think Tuesday is probably the hardest of the 4 days, or certainly for me the least appealing betting-wise of the 4 days. Thursday is the one I'm licking my lips for. And that last race tomorrow, if that's not the death knell of the 3 mile 6 chase, honestly, it's so disappointing. There's too many novice chases at the Cheltenham Festival. Audi, betting-wise, I am going to stick with Ben Linfoot, and in Tully Hill we trust. The rumours of this monstrous piece of work he did the other day, and hopefully David Casey's got his jumping sorted. That's the one question mark against him. The Ben Pauling horse might take us onto the lead scoop, but hopefully he'll get there in the end, and what an engine he's got. Mystical Power is the one who's could be the fly in the ointment, because I'm not sure quite what he's capable of doing. In the Arkle, it's so difficult, isn't it? It really is a difficult race. They could be jumping all over the place in the Arkle. So for bet 2, Audi, I think I'll go for the Ultima, which is a cracking betting race. I think the 2 that will shorten up are the 2 Kim Bailey horses, and I'm going to stick with the Gopher, who I think is rock solid. Haven't seen the footage of that charity race the other day, but it sounds like he was impressive in that, and is well handicapped on last year's form. And that was an epic. You'll never beat that as a race last year at the Ultima. This year's not as good, and I can see no reason why the Gopher won't be on the scene. So I'll go Tully Hill and the Gopher each way will be in the 4 or 5, whatever Sky Bet are offering.
I'll give you the third selection, and I'm going to twist you on for one final opening day horse. Something else on the Chamberlain radar.
I'm just going to watch the Champion Hurdle and the Mayor's Hurdle from my ITV position. Boodles is impossible. National Hunt Chase, I don't like it at all and should go. So I'll go for the Arkle. So difficult this. Anything could happen in this race, but Henry de Bromhead hadn't had a winner for a couple of weeks already. Then yesterday, 6 runners, 3 winners, a second and 2 thirds. So I do think de Bromhead's going to have a big week. Dinner with him the other day. They sounded keen on Quilixios, and he's got the festival form, good jumper. So I'll go with Quilixios in Arkle with minimum confidence, though.
That's what we want. On the eve of Cheltenham, minimum confidence is where we all should be. I'm going to put up Ireland to win the Presbyterian Cup at 1-16 as my confidence shout.
Who would you back? Great Britain against
1-16 value.
I think it is 1-16. Great Britain against who, Ed?
Mullins.
Oh, Mullins. Yeah, comfortably. I think Mullins will get double the GB, Charlie. I fear. I've been wrong before. I think it was 2006, was it, Scoop? I was wrong at Cheltenham. It was sometime
something like that.
Sometime around that.
It was a 3-day fairs.
You're 1, 2, 3, David, for the day one of the fairs.
Yeah, I mean, this Supreme Novices is a real interesting race, isn't it? Even if it's probably not as good a race at the moment as what we usually get. I was looking at Slade Steele, who's a time form top rated, and he's basically £7 below the standard that's usually required to win. And he's actually the lowest top rated in the race since Captain Seaby's year in 2008 when they went 8-1 the field. So I don't think, we're going to need an absolute superstar in this to win. And the one that I like is actually Mystical Power, who he just looks the one that is a natural supreme horse to me. He's got loads of pace. I know his jumping wasn't foot perfect last time, but the way that he just made that move between the second last and the last got bags of ability, as he's obviously bred to possess. Jumps horses aren't usually as well bred as what this horse is, being by Galileo, obviously the first foal of Annie Power. And I'm really hopeful that Mystical Power is the one. Obviously not too concerned about the jockey bookings. Paul Townend was never going to be getting on this one, was he? It was always going to be Mark Walsh's ride. So I don't think there's too much significance in that. So Mystical Power, I'm hoping, is the one that'll do it.
Yeah, I agree with David as well. I think Billy might. We'll come to Billy next. But before then, DJ, two of the horses on your radar for tomorrow?
Oh, yes. It's tricky, isn't it? As Ed was saying, I'm bound to have a go at the Arkle. I think I'm just about siding with Ilete Tomps. I know people are going to hold his record at the festival against him, but to me, just looks a better horse for going over fences than what he does over hurdles. I think he jumps slightly better. I know that Gaelic Warrior has slightly superior form as what we saw, when he beat Ilete Tomps pretty comfortably over Christmas. But this trip, I think, will suit Ilete Tomps better, and obviously going this way round will suit him better than Gaelic Warrior. And I just like the way that he really battled and stuck his head down to pick up Founder 50 after that one got first run in the Irish Arkle. So Ilete Tomps for me to win the Arkle.
There you go. We've got two for DJ. Billy, you've got a fair few to go at here with your Irish trawl. What are you going to put up for day one?
We've got a pretty promising day ahead, I think, Ardy. I'm with DJ and the Supreme. I'm a big fan of Mystical Power. It's not that I don't like Tully Hill. I think he's a smashing horse. I think he's one we'll be talking about for the novice chases next year. He's a proper chaser in the making, I reckon. But I've been really impressed with Mystical Power every time I've seen him. I think he's improving in chunks every time he goes to the racetrack, and I think there's a bigger performance in his locker. As DJ said, I think he's possibly more of a 2-miler than Tully Hill. Slade Steel is really interesting, but I think Slade Steel in an ideal world would run in the Gallagher. I think they're running here to avoid Ballymore rather than for the fact that they think he might actually win the Supreme. So I'm with Mystical Power. I'd agree with a lot of what DJ said about the Arkle. I think it's going to be an absolute burn-up, this Arkle. We have found the 50 Gaelic Warrior and Matata. They're going to go off like the clappers in this race. So I think you want something that's coming off the pace. Ilete Tomp, it should be suited by the race. Interestingly, on time farm ratings, Hunter's Yarn is coming out top. I think he'll give Darrell Jacob a great spin if he jumps around. He was obviously unlucky not to win a beginner's chase the first day. He won the second day in what was a really solid race. Horsey beat Pactaroo, has very solid handicap form. He beat him very comfortably despite making an absolute howl or two out. So if he can keep the mistakes to a minimum, he could be running on nicely at the end, as could my mate Mozzie, who I'd see is in tongue strap and headgear. The race will pan out ideally for him. He has loads of ability, but he also has a lot of seconds to his name. So he's won at an each-way price that will probably run well. For the rest of the card, probably the best bet of the day, I think, is coming in the last. I think it's Embassy Gardens in the National Hunt Chase. I'm not a massive fan of Corbett's Cross, and I'm not absolutely convinced that he wants this trip. I think 3-6. I think it'll suit Embassy Gardens. Interestingly, he has a hood as well. I wasn't expecting to see that, but they clearly think it'll help him. I just think he's a really solid stayer. His jumping has looked foot perfect on his first two starts, particularly the last 8 Naas. He was electric. So I think he's going to take all the beating. And at a big price, looking at the Mayor's Hurdle, I think Glossy Mouth will win. But I can't understand the price Gallimar so is. She's 20-1. If she hadn't run a Punchestown the other day, she'd be a quarter those odds, if not even less. So if you can excuse her that run, we know, unlike Glossy Mouth, we know she gets the sort of trip because she won over an extended 2-3-0 tie. So I think at 20-1, if you can, turn a blind eye to that Punchestown run, I think she's a massive each-way price.
Scoop, I realised that we forgot the format at the start. We took your Tully Hill and then galloped off into the sunset. Give us another couple for day one.
Well, I like Ed, and with Kim Bailey in the Ultima, I do like Trelaw. Now, he has been backed a little bit and he's 8-1 now, but I still think that's a fair price. When you look at his form over 2.5 miles over fences this season, behind the likes of Ginny's Destiny and Grey Dawning at Cheltenham, where he was bang there at the last fence, I think he just shapes like he's going to improve hugely for going up in distance. He did so over hurdles. He's won over 3 miles over hurdles. He's bred for a trip. And I know he's got his quirks, like he almost ran out at Wetherby, didn't he, in the Cheltenham. But I think Harry Cobden's a great jockey booking for this horse. And as we've seen novices go really well in this race multiple times, and I think he's another one who looks bound to run really well. My other bet, I'm going to take on Lossiemouth, I think, in the mares. I just think with the question mark of the trip hanging over, and it's not so much whether she'll stay, it's whether she'll settle for me. And if she's too keen, I think she's going to struggle getting home. So I'm happy to take her on each way. And I like last year's second, Love Envoy for Harry Fry. I think she's run well over 2 miles a couple of times this season. Again, stepping back up to 2.5 should really suit her. He's put the cheek pieces on her. And if she runs to the level of form where she was second to Honeysuckle, I think she'd be really hard to kick out of the frame. So around 14-1, I think she's a decent each way bet.
Well, day 2, Ed Chamberlain already at Cheltenham. They're there for the week, obviously. Day 2, we've got the shorty El Fabiolo in a fascinating Queen Mother Champion Chase, Betway Queen Mother Champion Chase. Give us some Wednesday bets. Horses on your Wednesday radar, Ed Chamberlain. So Dave Bankers and Ballyburn's in there. Plenty of shorties again.
I just hope that Alan King is brave and adopts the same tactics. Well, I'm not sure he will. It just goes against everything that Alan King believes in, with Edward Stone going from the front. I just hope he does. Really hope he does, because that makes the Champion Chase much more interesting. The chances are El Fabiolo will probably win by even further, but at least Edward Stone would give it a go from the front. For fancies on the day, obviously Ballyburn in the opener, but I'm just going to watch that race. I'm hoping Stay Away Faye will serve it up to Fact or File in the Brown Advisory Audi. I haven't seen the decks, but I was told he was going to wear cheek pieces. Billy's nodding, so it sounds like that is happening. I would just love to see Cobden down the hill, taking it up. Broadway Boy out of the way might not actually help him, because I thought Broadway Boy might give him a lead. He might have to do it all his own way now with no Broadway Boy. But Cobden and Stay Away Faye against Fact or File could be one of the matches of the week. And I think it's pretty plain that the Mullins team would rather Fact or File was over the shorter trip. So I'm just hoping that Stay Away Faye will find more already up the hill when Fact or File's cantering all over him, trading very short. And I'm going to stick with Stay Away Faye in that. In the Coral Cup, again, I've been travelling to Cheltenham, so I haven't seen the decks, but Shambali Kid is of interest, Billy, if he's running in there for the Mullins team. I'll go with that. And then what have we got left? The bumper Nichols team are quite keen on the second string there. Cuba Cuara, Megan said at Kelso last weekend. But I think I will go for the cross country, actually, and take on all the big guns with Cocoa Beach, who I think's very interesting in that. Being out there already, it's not going to be Galvin ground, whatever happens now. They're going to have a week of sun, and that ain't drying up. It is so wet on the cross country course. That's bad news for Galvin. Don't think Delta works quite in the form he was in 12 months ago. And Cocoa Beach has been in fantastic form. So I think I'll go with him and give the last 2 races a miss.
Ed, would you like a 50-1 tip from a Sport and Art columnist for the Cheltenham Festival on Wednesday?
Depends which columnist that is, Audie. If it's the bearded scribe, I will. I would, yeah.
A man who's not bearded, W.P. Mullins is a man in question who, in his column for Wednesday, makes a case that Jimmy DeSoy in the opening Ballymore is a horse he loves. He thought he was going to pay for Christmas and he got beat by Asian Master first time, won subsequently. And Willie reckons at 50-1, he's a brilliant each-way better. They're not my words. They're the words of Willie Mullins.
In the words of GC, not for me, Clive.
We'll find out.
I would back Predator Gold without Ballyburn if there was such a market.
Oh, there will be. I'm sure there will be.
I'd go Predator Gold without Ballyburn. Yeah, that would be good.
You won't make Jimmy DeSoy, I'll tell you. There's your 50-1. Obviously, we'll have to bit of value. Before I let you go, Ed, the good things for the week, is it Stateman El Fabiolo? Is it Tick Tick? Is it Galloping de Champ Tick? Are you expecting the shortest to deliver?
Well, I've got that GC stat in my head, the 7
we all have
out of 8, which you'll read in the Daily Mail and here on ITV in the next couple of days.
The Dave Odd sat on Nick looks at podcast on Friday.
I'm not that keen to take any of them on. I do agree with Lossiemouth because it's going to be sticky out there tomorrow, and she doesn't settle and she looks all speed. She'd be the one if I was to take any of them on. But I panicked in the filming we did last week, Audie. I panicked. I went El Fabiolo as a blowout. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did. I panicked.
I put it down to drink.
But Thursday's the big day for me. Grey Dawning, I really fancy. Stage Star, I really fancy for the Brits in the Ryanair. And Milos is one of my bets of the week in the Potomps. I really fancy Laminos. I love a Skelton handicap plot. So I'm keen on Laminos on Thursday. And then I'm in the Jade de Grugy camp in the Mares Novice Audi. So Thursday for me is massive.
Well, best of luck, Ed. I'll see you down there on Thursday. I'll let you
looking
go.
forward. Listen, it's going to be so good. It's always so good. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
It genuinely is, isn't it? For all the doom and gloom, you've got the 4 best days of the jumping season bar none. Looming large interview. Thanks, Ed. If you do need to get off, please do. Your service much appreciated.
I'm going to go and interview Rachel Blackmore, so I will see you all on the telly tomorrow.
Fantastic. Good luck. See you then.
Have a good
Cheers, good luck.
Good luck, Ed.
Ed exiting stage left the other guys. Now, the other guys are back as well on Wednesday. They'll get to Thursday, Friday. So it's literally only the Wednesday action we're going to go through now. DJ, on Wednesday, give us a horse or two that's on your radar for day 2. You've had the decks to work with for all of 36 minutes. So I realise this will be in depth.
Yeah, so I'm having to find another one for the Brown Advisory with Grey Dawning as expected being switched to the Turners, because I'm still keen enough to take Factor File on. Obviously, look really good at Leopardstown, but you can pick holes in, obviously, how it all panned out and the fact that there might still be question marks about him over this kind of trip if it is going to be ground on the soft side. And the one that I've come down on is Monty Star, who isn't Grey Dawning, obviously, but he's a similar type in that I think he's all stamina. And he's just the kind of horse I think that Henry de Bromhead has got that's been pinpointed him to come here and step up quite a lot on what he's shown so far. He's only had the 2 runs. He was beaten in a maiden chase at Fairyhouse first time up, but left that form behind when winning at Punchestown last time. I mean, 3 Card Bragg is a horse that he beat there, beat him pretty comfortably by 5.5 lengths off level. So the bare form is obviously going to need improving upon, but on pedigree, he's related to Monolly, who is a top-class staying chaser. So I think the more experience this horse has over fences, the more we're going to see him keep stepping forward. And I think the stamina that he's going to bring is, very much in his favour. I think Monty Star does have a chance of turning over those front 2 in the market. I haven't gone through the handicaps in great detail yet. So to be honest, I wouldn't want to be pointing anyone in any other areas yet. I'm struggling to find a bet in the champion chase. I just think El Fabiolo is a significantly better horse, but weighing into him at nearly 5 to 2 on or whatever price he is, I'm happy enough to just sit and watch that race. So yeah, it's at this stage it's pretty much all about Monty Star in the Brown Advisory.
Yeah, Henry de Bromhead, very sweet on him. To Billy, it's Wednesday. It's Sa Majeste, a man who doesn't even need the entries or the weight to come up with one for the handicap. But he launched that one at us somewhere to December time. What's on your Wednesday radar, Billy?
Well, obviously, I'm very interested in Sa Majeste, but like I said in the podcast last week, if you haven't backed him already, there's probably not much point in doing it now because the price is totally gone. And it's, as we know, wide open race. You could make a case for probably 20 horses in it. If he's as good as Willie says he is, then he's well capable of winning. But for my best bets, I'll steer clear of that race. Obviously, I think Ballyburn is a bit of a steering job in the first. That's not going to come as a surprise to anybody. He looks the real deal. Likelihood is it's going to be a little bit like last year in that, last year Empire Pass beat Gaelic Warrior. I think it'll be Mullins dominated again. I think Elet Lontique might be the one to put it up to Ballyburn. I can't see El Fabiolo beaten in the champion chase. Just the way the race is going to be run, it looks like it. Again, it's going to be a bit like the Arkle. I think there's loads of pace in the race, especially if they ride Edward Stone forward. We know the likes of Gentleman to me, he's going to be right up there on the pace. They're going to go a really good gallop, and it's going to suit El Fabiolo. And, so long as he stands up, I think he'll win that. The cross country, I agree with Ed. I think Cocoa Beach, who, unlike I said last week, won't be 12 or 14 to 1, unfortunately. But I just think the way he ran, the way he took to the banks at Punchestown was really, really impressive. He doesn't have an awful lot to find on form with Delta Work and Galvin, and I think he'll have to go very close in that race. But one I like at a couple I like at bigger prices in the last 2 races. The Grand Annual, I've been quite sweet on a horse called Solidus of Joseph O'Brien's. He won a good quality handicap chase at Fairyhouse back in their Royal Bond meeting, which is round about the start of December. Connorstone Walsh rode him that day. He then went to Leopardstown. He ran a really solid race behind Mascada and Pat Daru, both of whom reoppose. here in this race. Finished third. He was doing his best work at the finish. He's a horse that stays 2.5 miles. I think Cheltenham will really suit him. I think the uphill finish will suit him. Expect him to be ridden quietly. He's a very solid jumper. I just think everything in the race I think it'll set up nicely for him. He's an each way price, and like I said, I think he'll certainly give you a good run for your money. And the bumper, as we know, is wide open. Again, I don't have a really strong opinion on what's going to win it. Jasmine DeVoe was probably the most impressive that I saw. From a visually impressive point of view, you'd have to say Jasmine DeVoe looked really good. But at a bigger price, I think the other Munir and Suede horse, C'est Ta Chance, I think he bumped into a really smart horse first time out in William Money. He was only beaten short head. The two of them pulled a mile clear at Navan. William Money was really impressive in a winner's bumper the other day. C'est Ta Chance will be a huge price. Look, there could be 12 better than him in the race, but at a massive price, if you want to take a swing at one, you could do a lot worse than him, I think.
Ben, you're known to take a swing at one at Cheltenham. Give us what's on your day two thoughts. I know it's your early thoughts. These aren't committed to your column that will be going live on Sporting Life after Racing Tuesday.
Well, I'm already sulking, Dave. I'm already down for the week because I backed Broadway by each way for the Brown Advisory. And I was greedy. I went anti-post just because it was 2 points bigger than non-runner no bet. So already sulking, I'm afraid.
That's because you're not drinking in March.
What's that?
That's because you're not drinking in March. Your judgment's impaired.
Exactly. So I'm less keen on taking Factor File as I was. And it could be Willie Mullins' day again, couldn't it? I can't see the bankers getting beat, to be honest. Ballyburn in the Gallagher, he looks to have everything you want for a winner of that race, really. It looks a class apart. I think he'll get the job done. For the forecast, I can see Predator's goal going well. Like the lads have said, I thought he was too keen at the DRF, and if he settles better, and I think he will, he could be the one here, down in trip slightly, to follow Ballyburn home. In the Champion Chase, I'm with El Fabiolo. Standout 2-miler for me. I don't see any issues with his jumping. He always finds a leg, and I think he's the best in the division, and he'll prove it on Wednesday. So, a little bit uninspiring, but it's that sort of card, really, looking at the grade ones. If I do take on Facts File, it'll probably be with Stay Away Fair. I like the application of cheap pieces. Just a little bit worried he might be a bit Jerry Colom and get outpaced on that track and finish with a rattle and just get there a little bit too late. But he might be the one to beat Factor File if there is one. Need more time to look at the handicaps. But if a solid handicap each way double, I thought Madara at the DRF was fantastic, and I know he's up £10, but can see him going well for Sophie Leach in the Grand Annual. Looks the perfect race for him with his course form and the way that race is run. And in the Coral Cup, built by Ballymore, again, he's been well found in the market, but connections have been second the last few years. And the way this race will be set up, the worry with him is he'd be outpaced, but in a big field, 2 mile 5, stiff finish, cheap pieces on, I can see him flying at the death. So that's a solid each way double built by Ballymore and Madara.
Brilliant. Well, we'll end part one on a solid each way double in the Wednesday handicaps, and we'll head over to Cheltenham again, not for Ed Chamberlain this time, but take the thoughts of Patrick Mullins on his rides on the opening 2 days.
Are you Cheltenham ready? Download the Sporting Life app for the best coverage of the festival, including live race blogs, stable tours, interviews, video previews, and expert tipping.
Well, Patrick, the waiting's nearly over. You've got 6 rides over the first 2 days. Let's start one of the darkest horses that you'll be riding. Super Sunday making his stable debut in the Sky Bet Supreme.
Yeah, look, obviously a big ask, stable debut, seasonal debut, but he's gone around in France twice. He's done lots of work, lots of schooling. We didn't get him out, unfortunately, but we would feel if we got him out in the maiden hurdle, he'd won very impressively, and he'd be coming here anyway. So we're going to take his chance. His work suggests has the ability to be in this race. But look, I imagine with the preparation he's had, we're probably riding him to run well to a degree and try to sneak into a top 4 place. But the fact that he's coming here tells you all you need to know about what we think of his ability.
So the fascinating runner. So it's Ashrael Diamond for you. She looks a big player in that mare's hurdle against a certain Lossymouth.
Yeah, well, she's travelled over one piece this year, thankfully, because obviously last year she had issues. So that's a good start to her week. Look, I'm really excited to riding her. It's a great ride to have because, look, there's no pressure. Lossiemouth's the hot favourite. I think obviously Lossiemouth, she's a flat-bred mare, and she started her career in France. So I didn't expect her to improve a huge amount from 4 to 5. Now, obviously, her performance in Cheltenham in January suggests she has. But maybe that race might have fallen apart. Maybe this, maybe that. We have a bit of hope. My mare's pedigree suggests she's the 2.5 miles with no problem. It looks like the ground is good on the slow side. I think we'll ride her pretty handy. I don't think we'll try not let it turn into a sprint like it was last year. But you'd be hoping maybe with Love Envoy and Gab Sheed's mare that they might set an even gallop, hopefully. Because I think if we go too slow, it'll set up for Lossiemouth. But I just think we have a really good chance. I think she's only been beaten by proper open class Grade 1 winning geldings. And back amongst her own, I think she could cause an upset.
It wouldn't be an upset if Embassy Gardens were the National Hunt Chase for you. What are your thoughts going into the race with him?
Yeah, I rode him out this morning, and he feels really good. We put a hood on him. He obviously got a little bit wound up here last year. He's going to have to settle. Like this race, it's so important to settle. I'm not in love with the preparation he had, like 2 small field races where he didn't really learn anything other than just pop away out in front. It's not ideal. We came here carefully selected off a similar preparation before, and he ran a bit keen, and you're trying to drop him in this race when they've been ridden forward in the other races. There is chinks in that, but he has the ability. He's a far superior chaser than he was a hurdler. But Corbett's Cross sets the standard on form. He was going to be bang there with Stay Away Faye in the Albert Bartlett last year. He was second in a Grade 1 behind Grade West. And I like the way they've done his prep. He's had a couple of runs. They've been dropping him in and getting him settled. Obviously, his last run didn't go to plan. But for me, Corbett's Cross is the one to beat. But if I can get M. Scars settled, get into rhythm, get him jumping, we'll give him plenty to think about.
Moving on to Wednesday, a fantastic ride to pick up in the old Il Atlantique in against Ballyburn, but a horse you know well from his bumper days.
Oh, yeah, look, he's a horse I adore. He's a fine, big, long, striding, scopy horse. Travels very strongly. Look, he's been worried out of it a couple of times, but by good horses, the likes of Firefox and Reed and Tommy Wrong. I think this tighter track might just suit him. We'll probably ride him a little bit differently. I think we'll probably try hold on to him a little bit and get a lead and try becoming at the finish rather than maybe fading at the finish. So look, Ballyburn's going to be very difficult to beat. And Predator Gold is a horse I would take very seriously as well. I think this trip and track and ground will suit him very well. But he's fantastic ride to pick up. And if there is a little chink in Ballyburn, this fella will be knocking on the door to take advantage of it. But look, we all think Ballyburn is very hard to beat. But as we've seen before, Deadman got beaten in this race. Plenty of good horses get beaten it. So I'm delighted to be on Il Atlantique.
Very different test. The cross-country chase with Statler. What are you making of his chances?
Look, he punched out. He was learning on the job when he decided very late to make our cross-country horse, which isn't ideal. And he schooled well since. But we were hoping to come over to school around the cross-country track in Cheltenham. Unfortunately, they said it's too heavy. We were hoping then to school this week, and they said it's too heavy. So we're not going to have had a jump over the fences, which is a little annoying. There's been one race of the week on the track. I'm not sure why they're minding it so much. But anyway, look, I'd imagine if he can jump around and get in the top 4, that'd be great. It's a prep for the Grand National, essentially. So I'm looking forward to riding him. What I'm looking forward to the race is another thing.
Last but not least, you finally you had to make a decision on the bump. It came down with Jasmine DeVoe. Was it as difficult as you expected it to be to make that choice?
Yeah, it was. Look, I don't think there's much between a few of ours. Some people say that means you have nothing to win the race, but I'm not a believer in that. I think there's a few there that could be very competitive. For me, like Jasmine, he's probably the smallest horse of all of ours. Smallest, slightest. He wouldn't catch your eye at all. But his performance in Nace was clearly very eye-catching. Now, the horse that was second to him had been beaten similar distances before and after, so it's hard to know where that form puts in. But I just liked when I had a little look under the bonnet in the last furlong and picked up, put his head down, very professional. So I rolled the dice with him. Cantico probably would have been my second choice. I think he's a horse, he works very well and he's settled very well. I think that's a big advantage in this race. You ought to know it's going to be solid. Argento Boy could be like his brother Briar Hill. But, you know, it has been a little mention for Jolly Town and Flora Facile. She's surprised us twice, and no better woman than Jodie to cause an upset.
Visit sportinglife.com for more analysis, tips, opinion and insight.